Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us on today's presentation of mobility web and apps for Sage Paperless construction. Sorry we're getting started just a few minutes late. We had some audio issues on our end, so got a lot to cover today. I want to keep it moving. Our agenda for today, corporate overview, real briefly, who we are at Alliance. I'm guessing most people know who Alliance is, so don't want to spend too much on that. Really want to dig into the software today and leave some time for questions and answers. At Alliance Solutions Group, we are the technology consultants next door. We live and breathe construction software, working on business challenges for our customers day in, day out. We've got 30, some of our consultants have 30 and 40 years of experience, been working with our products since their initial inception. Today we're going to be looking at Sage Paperless, which fits into the Sage construction and real estate portfolio as the document management systems that integrate with 100 Contractor and Sage 300 construction and real estate. Sage Paperless is an on-premise system, so it links into your back office network and then links into your accounting system. So really all of your documents are kept in Sage Paperless, one safe, secure location. With Paperless, no more lost invoices. It's information where you need it. You save one copy of that file, and then from there it links into multiple locations. That's a classic problem that you have when you start linking file attachments to records, and all of a sudden you have an invoice linked in 4 different locations. Then that's great for an initial, but then if something has to get updated, then you have to update all those links. Well, Sage Paperless solves that problem for you. Your document security is super important in your organization. With Sage Paperless, everybody gets tracked to a per user login, and you can set access to files, individual files, and file types. And then reporting, quickly retrieve those documents. And final benefit, I always say, is no more lost invoices. Super important. With Sage Paperless, kind of on my personal mission to seek and destroy these big 1,000-pound filing cabinets. And really looking forward to hearing more and more stories about people, how they're able to go paperless in their office. So before we jump into the software, real quick overview of how the system is kind of set up overall. Really, I like to start most people with AP Flow as they're really jumping into Sage Paperless because it's a huge source of paper in most organizations. And getting a handle on that is a really good first step in going paperless for your whole office. From there is our more general document routing system, which is called DocRoute. So if you want to start routing things like subcontracts for those to be approved prior to sending out, you can use our DocRoute functionality for that. Again, this is all the on-premise system. So I think I've seen a lot of our attendees on the list today. People have seen our AP Flow, so I don't want to spend too much time on that, but there are some people that are probably seeing paperless for the first time on this webinar today. So I'll touch on it real briefly. But we do have more webinars if you're really looking to dig into the AP Flow. So what we're talking about today are the Sage Paperless cloud services. Sage Paperless, the on-premise, has been around for 5 years, and then last year they rolled out the cloud services because recognize the industry, the whole world is going mobile, and people are looking for web-based solutions. So with Sage Paperless eCapture, you have the ability to turn your smartphone or iPad into a digital scanner that links into your Sage Paperless system. Do things like capture job photos, capture receiving tickets, and then link those into the invoice that you're actually approving at that time. Another aspect is the e-portal for invoice approval. This is for those approvers that are on the go. People that aren't always sitting behind their desk. They're juggling a lot of balls. They're probably in between airports, driving back and forth between job sites, but they still want to have access to their invoices. They still want to be able to pull up those documents, see the related information, and maintain good cost control while they're still on the go. Because maintaining a good cost control and vendor payment system is super important in today's fast-paced world. So looking at our AP Flow, the real quick 4-step process, and then we'll jump into the system. You capture your invoices. We're going to show that today of an invoice coming into the system. You enter that invoice information, we route it for approval, and then we export that invoice over to Sage. So we're going to be showing this process in the on-premise software, but then also show like entering invoice info. This is where we're going to show our e-capture and capturing receiving ticket with that app. And then we're going to, within our route for approval, we can actually show how we can approve that that same invoice either in the on-premise version or in the paperless e-portal. So with that, let's hop into the software. Just double checking to see if we have any questions. Nope, seeing no questions, hop into our software demo. So at Alliance, we run everything on our virtual server here. So right now I'm logged in remotely to our central location. We do cloud hosting for our customers as well. As I mentioned, everybody in Paperless has a login. So this is always the hardest part of my webinars, remembering my password on the fly when I'm in front of an audience. So Sage 300 CRE Vault, we can pick between which vault we're going to use. For today's discussion, I'm going to be working in Sage 300. The Paperless processes for both are pretty similar. It gets into nitty-gritty details we can talk about on a one-on-one demo. So I'm going to bring an invoice into the system here. Yeah, I'm going to bring an invoice into the system. I was thinking we could maybe do it chronologically real world, but it makes more sense to show in this context. So here's my invoice that I'm bringing into the system, just a sample from a power equipment rental, an equipment rental example organization. So if I want to bring that invoice into Sage Paperless, it's a simple left click and drag. If I want to open that file or push it to one of my digital inboxes or my queues, I'm going to say who's that going to, not going to make any notes today. Always like to mention that you can add markups here in our on-premise software. And then that individual goes about their day. When they go to actually enter their invoices, they go review their queue, that digital inbox, and they start to enter information about that vendor. So if I want to look for power equipment rental, 1601, my invoice 180305, description is going to be rental, invoice date 0301 of 18. All of my vendor term information comes over, my payment terms. This is 210 net 30. So our discount date pulls over, and that's going to get tracked throughout the system separately. There's an invoice total. We're going to add a new line and code this out to a job. That job number is going to be 0301, and I'm going to mark the cost code as asphalt paving. Okay, so the step here to actually link a receiving ticket to this invoice is here in our related documents. And so at any point in the process, if the user has access, they can see these related documents and then they can make additions to those. So what I see here at the top is my AP invoice, 1601. And down at the bottom, I can see related documents that we have set up on this. I have listed purchase orders and commitments. I have unattached AP receiving tickets. Looks like there's one on here from February 20th. And then we have some other vendor documents up here as well. So right now I'm going to capture a new receiving ticket and actually attach that up here to this document. And that's what's going to make it available to all my reviewers downstream. So what I'm going to do now is share my my tablet screen and actually pull up that eCapture app. And can anyone type into the question and answer box if you can see my iPad screen? Just want to double check that. All right, perfect. So here down at the bottom, we have some of those paperless apps. Here's our eCapture app, which turns your smartphone into a digital scanner. And there's also an eForms app, which is a custom form builder. I'm not going to dig into that today, but we will cover that in a future webinar discussion. Or if you want, if you're interested in that product, talk to one of your account managers. We can get a one-on-one set up. So here in Sage eCapture, you log in with a user credential. So I saved my password here, so I can hit login. And then it's going to say which vault do I want to select, and then what type of document. The different document types available right now are AP invoices, AP receiving tickets, credit card receipts, and job photos. For today's example, I'm just going to use AP receiving tickets, but the app essentially functions the same way, regardless of the document type. So what we need to do is select which vendor this is going to, and that same vendor list is going to come over from Sage 300. I'm going to say, what's my receiving ticket number? What's the document date? So that gets auto-filled automatically. And then what's your job number? That's going to my Northwest Food Warehouse. So then I come down here to the bottom and I actually tap my camera button. And then right at that level, I'm going to use that photo and then just say submit. So there we captured that receiving ticket for actual material received on the job site. And that could have been a project engineer on the job, a project manager, a superintendent, any of your field foremen. The app it's not a very expensive access to get access to the eCapture app. It's just $2 a month billed annually. So it's $24 a year per user if you want to give them this kind of access into your document system. So then if I go back in my related document section here, we'll see here, I'm going to refresh my document. And here is AP receiving tickets for job 0301. We just received it right here. So you could imagine that would actually already be in the system. You know, in our example today, the receiving ticket would typically come in before you'd get the invoice, but in our case, it just came in afterwards. So I select which documents I want to attach, and then I click our little digital stapler here, and then it creates this little packet of related documents that are going to travel along with that invoice through their review process. So there's my AP invoice screen. I'm going to route this invoice over to one of my reviewers. It's already routed to reviewer 1 based on job rules that we have set up in the system. And then I would be able to go into my next set of invoices. So now changing hats, if we go to that reviewer 1 who is actually approving that invoice, there's AP reviewer 1, show their documents. And there's that power equipment rental 1 right here. And if we go to their related documents, right up in the top here, there's the invoice itself, and then there's that same receiving ticket that we just took the picture of with eCapture. If you don't have eCapture, this kind of functionality still exists. So throughout the system, you can link purchase orders, you can link commitments, you can link other related documents. If you wanted to link a lien waiver to an invoice, you could do that as well. So you can create many document links that are going to be part of these similar packages. And that's really where, if you work with one of our consultants, they can start to make some more ways of how you can actually link documents. With Sage Paperless, you can start super simple. All you're doing is bringing the invoice. You can really add a lot of power, but also with that comes some complexity if you want to start linking additional documents here. So with this review, we have access to our approve, reject, we can put on hold, we can mark common issues, and we can make modifications to cost codes. Really, this Sage Paperless, the desktop version, is a really powerful markup tool, and allow you to create, to edit invoice information if you want to split up additional lines. It's really full functionality. It tries to mirror the functionality that you have in the accounting systems. Now, I say that because if I go into my ePortal, we try to keep it simpler. easier functionality. So when you log in, you're met with those same user credentials that you would get set up. And right here is, before I had 2 logged in, so I had to refresh. I have 2 invoices that are past due showing up here in red. And then here's the one that we just entered today. And we can see it showing up in blue because we are still before the discount date. Right now it's March 8th as we're recording this. Discount date's on the 11th, so this is going to be showing up in blue, letting us know, hey, we're eligible for a discount if we pay this invoice. After the 11th, before the 31st, this would turn black and then turns to red after the due date. You can also switch over to a card view on this. Sorry, just gonna clean up my screen a little bit here. So it's a responsive design. So if you are opening it up on an iPad, kind of depends on the size of the screen. It's going to fit whatever you need to do. Just modern web-based interfaces like that. So if I want to go into the details about that invoice, you can go into your lines of distribution and you can actually do modifications to your cost codes in here. You can change the job that it is or change which cost code you're going to, enter an extra, change the category. But you're really not doing more edits than that. You're not adding additional line items. You are really modifying lines that are existing on that invoice. So it's a little bit less functionality than the full desktop version, but it gets the job done in the sense of getting access to the information you need to see, seeing notes that get transferred over from the on-premise version. You get to see your related documents here. So that's that initial invoice. And then when we partnered with eCapture, here we can see that same receiving ticket that's matched up. So we matched it up on the on-premise version, but that's transferring throughout the system in the web-based functionality as well. Your common invoice issues do actually come up on the ePortal. I need to get that set up in my demo information here. So what your reviewers have access to, and there's going to be a new release coming up again soon. This is an actively developing product, but you can reject, keep it on pending, or approve. If you reject the invoice, it's going to ask you some questions, or if you just go ahead and hit approve, there are invoices successfully approved, and it's going to go back into, leaves our queue here, and then would get updated in the paperless system. So that last step in any process is actually going to be exporting your approved invoices into Sage. So when we grab our invoice, we say, let's say, when is it created? And then we say export, say what our accounting date is. And then we go about paying our invoices through our normal methods in either Sage 300 or Sage 100 Contractor. All right, so that is the whirlwind tour of the eCapture apps and how they work in with the AP flow process. The system has been around since before the web-enabled apps and web portals. So you can function entirely with the on-premise software, but you're really just extending mobility and on-the-go functionality with those new subscription services. So going to look to some questions and answers here. Can you enter multiple jobs on one invoice? Yes, absolutely. So in your enter invoices screen, whenever you are going to enter details about that invoice, there's a few things that you need to input. Northwest Concrete there. Description is going to be a concrete invoice date. When you go to add a new line here, you can go to a job, and then you can add another new line out to a different job at that point. So you can go one job, different cost codes, and have multiple cost codes for a single job, or multiple jobs, multiple cost codes. Lots of flexibility there in how you do that. Is it compatible with Sage version 14? I think typically we go back 2 versions of Sage, but really the system's pretty stable in terms of keeping in touch with Sage and Sage 300. The 2 systems really match up with their update cycles, and the developers are always working together to make sure those connections are stay active. Asking questions about what types of scanners we work with. So any network scanner that's Twain compliant is going to be able to scan into Sage Paperless. How about USB scanners? That's a good question. I can look into that and get back in touch with you, Gabriel. Another question, how do you add an invoice to a purchase order? So if it was going to a purchase order rather than out to an individual job, what you can do is actually add a new line. Let's say you're going to a purchase order. It's going to look up the existing purchase orders. This could be a subcontract also. And it's going to ask, what are the open purchase orders for that vendor? What job is it going to? So I'm going to select this one for 0301. And then you actually select which lines in the purchase order that you're receiving. And you say, what is the amount received for each of those lines? And then you can actually just add those to the invoice. So if you pre-code all that information on your purchase order or commitment side, invoicing really becomes easy, just matching that information up. Okay, not going to save any questions. Lastly, let's talk real quickly about our pricing structure here. So pricing for the on-premise version of Sage Paperless is it's a one-time purchase, like the rest of your Sage modules, and then goes into your annual maintenance with Sage Construction and Real Estate. It's based on the number of concurrent users you have in the system. Our subscription products, those web products that we talked about, are a little bit different. You pay a one-time fee to unlock the web functionality on your account, and then it's a per named user annual subscription. So on that e-portal, it's $2 a month or $24 a year. On that eCapture e-portal, it's going to be $10 a month or $120 billed annually. If you are interested in those, talk to your Alliance account manager. If you have questions, you can email me directly, cmcdermott@alliancesg.com, or my phone number, 310-935-3772. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. Wishing you a great rest of the week. See you next time.